Imagine standing in a grand old mansion. The air suddenly drops, and you hear footsteps where no one is. Is it just your imagination playing tricks?
Hmm.
Or could it be something more? Something, lingering?
Right.
Today we're taking a deep dive into the truly fascinating, often misunderstood world of ghosts and psychic phenomena, and we're guided by the groundbreaking insights of renowned psychical researcher Hans Holzer.
That's right. Our mission in this deep dive really is to sift through excerpts from Holzer's extensive work. It's a real treasure trove of research and incredible case histories.
Hmm.
We want to bring you a shortcut, sort of to being truly well-informed about the nature of life, death, and, well, what might lie beyond.
Exploring surprising facts, challenging maybe some common assumptions.
Exactly, and hopefully giving you an entirely new perspective on consciousness itself.
Our sources, they range quite a bit. We've got rigorous scientific investigations into ESP, extrasensory perception.
Yeah, the scientific angle is key.
All the way to vivid accounts of famous hauntings and the lingering presences of historical figures. So quite a lot to unpack.
A huge amount. And this isn't just about, spooky tales for entertainment, though they can be fun.
Right.
This is a serious, methodical look at what Holzer considered verifiable evidence, pushing the boundaries of what we understand about consciousness and really about reality itself.
Okay, so let's jump right in the fundamental question. What is a ghost, according to Holzer? Because his definition probably isn't what most people immediately think of.
No, probably not. Holzer's core definition is actually quite well grounded. He moves away from purely supernatural explanations.
Okay.
He basically said ghosts are best understood as surviving emotional memories of individuals. People who, for various reasons, couldn't transition smoothly from their physical state into what he called the world of the spirit or world of the mind.
The world of the spirit.
Oh.
Like a heaven?
Mm-hmm.
Or something else?
Not really a religious heaven. More like, think of it as a parallel energetic dimension, a vibrational plane where consciousness could persist and maybe even interact with our reality if the conditions are right.
Interesting. And these individuals are often stuck because of?
Emotional shock, usually. He talks about emotional shock induced by sudden death or great suffering. And this forces them, essentially, to continually relive those final moments of agony.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense, actually, when you think about personality as energy. Holzer used a really powerful analogy for this, didn't he? Something about the electromagnetic nature of personality.
He did. He likened it to a tape recording, something that can be played over and over without losing clarity or volume.
Right.
It's his way of grounding the phenomenon, suggesting these presences aren't just, magic, but an energetic pattern, something that fits into the general pattern of the universe, as he put it.
An energetic signature.
Exactly. How an individual's unique energy could persist.
And this analogy is really key for distinguishing what Holzer saw as a real ghost-like, a conscious, lingering personality from other stuff people experience, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference there?
Yeah, he was very specific about this. He figured that no more than 10–15% of all sightings or phenomena are real ghosts in that conscious sense.
Only 10–15%, so what's the rest?
The larger portion, he explained, is more like a replaying of a past emotional event. An imprint.
An imprint, like an echo in the atmosphere.
Sort of, yeah. An emotional imprint left on the atmosphere of a place, which can then be re-experienced by sensitive people. And the crucial thing he noted is that these replays happen exactly in the same place and at the same time of day to all those who witness them.
Okay, so it's predictable, almost like a film loop.
Precisely. It's residual energy playing out, but without an active consciousness driving it.
That really changes the common perception, doesn't it? It also means those popular ideas like ghosts being always dangerous, fearful, and hurt people are usually way off base.
Definitely. He stressed they're not figments of the imagination or the product of motion picture writers either. Though, interestingly, he did think the movie Ghost was quite accurate in how it showed a lingering spirit.
Huh. Okay, noted. But he wasn't a fan of the ghost hunting TV shows, I gather.
Generally, no. He felt they often sensationalized things. Now, what Holzer found really interesting was people's reactions. He saw this third group, the vast majority, who were kind of aware of psychical phenomena, maybe read about the evidence.
But still skeptical.
Yeah, but skeptical not always from disbelief, but often from an inner resistance. A resistance to, well, fundamentally changing their philosophical views on life and death. He felt for you, the listener perhaps, the need for specific, fully verifiable evidence and an acceptable explanation was really important.
Right. Which brings us to the scientific side. How did researchers try to bring some rigor to this field? Because it's often seen as, pretty out there.
Well, moving beyond just anecdotes was crucial. You had people like Professor J.B. Rhine at Duke University. He really pioneered the scientific exploration of parapsychology, trying to take it out of the purely occult realm and into academia.
Ryan's work was foundational.
Absolutely. And think about the case of Ted Sirios, the Chicago bellhop. This was mind-blowing stuff. Under most rigid test conditions, Sirios showed these psychic photography talents.
Psychic photography, what did he do?
He could project images onto film, sometimes images from the future or from places miles away he'd never been to, just projecting them with his mind.
Whoa, under test conditions.
Under very strict conditions. This wasn't about a ghost, but about showing that these psychic abilities could be real and, importantly, verifiable.
Incredible. And Holzer saw ESP itself not as something totally alien, but more like an extension of our normal senses.
Exactly. He described ESP as an extension of the normal five senses into an area where logical thinking is absent and other laws govern.
It's not magic, but just more.
Kind of. He compared it to infrared and ultraviolet light. They're just extensions of ordinary red and violet on the spectrum we can see. ESP was like that for our senses. Not an extra sense, but broadening what we already have. And he noted most cases involved sight or sound or both.
Okay, so moving beyond the theory, how did these abilities actually get used? I mean, in the real world. You mentioned psychics helping out in surprising ways.
Yeah, this is a really intriguing part of Holzer's research. Psychics assisting law enforcement, often very quietly.
Like who?
Well, Peter Hurkos, the Dutch psychic, he was involved in the Boston Strangler case. Apparently, he was able to describe in great detail what the killer looked like.
Really? Did it help?
It seems it did, but the fascinating part was the politics. There was a power play between the police and the attorney general. Despite Hurkos' input, he actually got arrested on trumped-up charges.
No way. Why?
It just highlights that systemic resistance, resistance to acknowledging these kinds of abilities officially.
Wild. Any others?
There was Croiset, another Dutch psychic from the University of Utrecht's Parapsychology Institute. He apparently sees in pictures rather than words or sentences. He found it helpful to hold an object belonging to the person whose fate he is to fathom.
So, psychometry. Touching objects.
Seems like it. And the general police stance Holzer noted was, officially, they do not like to say they use it, but unofficially. Why, that's another matter.
A quiet collaboration, then. Driven by results, even if denied publicly. Okay, but what about actually connecting with those conscious, lingering personalities we talked about earlier? That sounds more like what a medium does.
Precisely. Trance mediums were key in Holzer's research. They essentially allow the spirit or ghost to speak directly to the investigator.
Directly, like taking over the medium's voice.
Sometimes, yes. A really compelling example is Mrs. Ethel Myers in the Serge Rubinstein murder case back in 1955. During a trance session, Rubinstein's own mother was there. She readily identified the voice coming from the entranced psychic's lips as that of her murdered son. But even more convincing. The medium used certain peculiar turns of language characteristic of the deceased, things the medium couldn't possibly have known.
Wow. That's specific, verifiable evidence.
Exactly. That specificity was crucial for Holzer. This ability is also central to what he called the rescue circle.
Rescue circle, what's that?
He called it a delicate operation. Investigators, often with a medium, try to help a ghost move on. They do this by calling out to someone close to her in life, a loved one or a friend, who will then come and take her away with them into the next stage of existence.
So helping them cross over.
Essentially, yes. It really underscores the purpose behind a lot of Holzer's work. It wasn't just observing, it was often about assisting these trapped entities, but he strongly warned against amateurs trying this.
Right. Sounds like it needs real skill and caution.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings up another point. Not all the tools people associate with this are reliable, are they? Like Ouija boards.
Oh, definitely not. Holzer took a very dim view of Ouija boards generally.
Why's that?
He acknowledged they might occasionally tap into psychic levels, but found that most of the material obtained merely reflects the unconscious of one or both sitters. It's more psychology than spirit communication, usually.
So you're just talking to yourself, basically.
Often, yes. Or picking up on the unconscious thoughts of the person with you. He used the example of a famous Ouija message supposedly from JFK. The people involved were sincere, but Holzer expressed reasonable doubt. Because there was no specific or startling, verifiable information. If it were really Kennedy, Holzer argued, there would have been details only JFK could know, things that could be checked out independently. That's the key. Genuine communication provides specific, checkable detail.
Makes sense. Specificity is the benchmark.
Okay.
Let's shift gears a bit. History seems full of stories, people, events that just refuse to stay buried. How do historical figures, especially presidents, fit into Holzer's ideas?
Well, Holzer observed that these figures often seemed connected, even after death, to places or events that held deep meaning for them. Take Abraham Lincoln.
The White House ghost. Classic.
Right. But Holzer noted Lincoln's ghost is reportedly nowhere else to be found but where it mattered to him, in the White House, not just an imprint at Ford's Theater, for example.
So it's his conscious personality tied there.
That was Holzer's argument. Tied there because of unfinished business, things like the Emancipation Proclamation, his deep desire for peace. He's supposedly especially troubled and restless on the eve of national calamities.
Any specific sightings?
Well, there are famous accounts. Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands reportedly saw him and fainted. And Linda Johnson, LBJ's daughter, reported hearing knocking attributed to him. Holzer also connected Lincoln's known fatalism, his references to Brutus and Caesar, as part of the psychological makeup contributing to such a powerful, lingering presence.
So it's the whole person, their beliefs, their unresolved issues that creates the persistence. What about the Kennedys? Their deaths seem like such a nexus for psychic experiences.
Absolutely. The Kennedy tragedies are almost textbook examples of widespread precognition around major emotionally charged events. For JFK, Holzer documented numerous premonitions, dreams, visions, and other warnings prior to or simultaneous with the event itself.
People like Jean Dixon.
Yes, her and others urging him to strengthen his guard. And even Lee Harvey Oswald's death had this element. A dentist, Dr. Robert G., apparently just blurted out he will be shot in the police station right before it happened.
Oh.
And another woman, Miss Nichols, psychically heard Jack Ruby's exact words as he shot Oswald. "Take this, you son of a bitch."
Chilling. And Robert Kennedy, too.
Similar patterns. John Lundgren had an incredibly vivid dream beforehand. He dreamt RFK was shot while giving his inaugural address. Okay, the setting was wrong, but he accurately named Roosevelt Grier and Rafe Johnson as the men who subdued the assassin.
Grier and Johnson, the athlete and the Olympian.
Exactly. Lundgren initially dismissed the dream because he thought, what are sports figures doing there? But they were there, and they did subdue Sirhan Sirhan. It again highlights Holzer's point about specific, verifiable details popping up in these experiences.
It's fascinating how these intense national traumas seem to ripple outwards psychically.
Yeah.
Okay, beyond presidents, what about other historical figures like Aaron Burr or Major Andre? What do they show us?
Aaron Burr is interesting. He illustrates how unresolved negative emotions, like bitterness, can affect the post-mortem personality. During a trance session, Holzer documented a medium-channeled Burr.
Did he say who he was?
Not at first. He refused, preferring the name Bertram Delmar. Holzer thought this was because of the bitterness and hostility Burr faced late in life. He was clinging to anonymity as a kind of line of defense. But he did give verifiable details talking about his daughter Theo, his troubles in France.
So the personality persists, bitterness and all. What about Major Andre, the spy in the revolution?
Right, at the Van Cortlandt mansion. In that case, a medium visiting the site felt intense sensations of sentence and capture, specifically near a chair where Andre had supposedly sat before his capture.
So that's more like the imprint idea.
Exactly. A classic example of an emotional imprint. A highly traumatic event leaving a residual energy tied to a specific spot, replaying the feeling of that moment rather than necessarily being Andre's conscious ghost interacting.
Got it. So we have conscious ghosts, emotional imprints. It seems the energy of intense events really can stay in a place. What about specific haunted locations? What do they tell us about these different types of phenomena?
Let's look at a few. Danton Walker's colonial house in Rockland County had classic poltergeist activity. Knocking, heavy footsteps.
And things moving on their own.
Oh, yeah. Objects moving, like a pewter pitcher apparently flew off a mantelpiece and hit a guest, pictures tumbling down, and crucially, physical evidence, an unmistakable imprint of a heavy man's thumb on a thick pewter jar.
Wow. Tangible proof.
Right. And the medium, Eileen Garrett, using what Holzer called traveling clairvoyants, identified the entity as someone named Andreas, who hung up there, likely meaning hanged or somehow trapped. This points towards a real ghost, a specific personality interacting physically.
Okay, and what about a place like the Whaley House in San Diego? That place is legendary. Seems like everything happens there.
The Whaley House is definitely complex. Reports include mysterious footsteps, cold drafts, unseen presences, even organ music when no one's playing,
Objects moving too.
a cradle rocking by itself. Apparitions too, a slight woman dressed in a hoop skirt, and even a spotted dog like a fox terrier seen scurrying down a hall.
A ghost dog.
Apparently. The sheer variety suggests, well, maybe multiple things going on. Perhaps several conscious entities, maybe alongside those residual imprints we talked about. It's like layers of history. Interestingly, some disturbances reportedly kicked off after the second house had been placed on the grounds, suggesting changes to the physical space can stir things up.
Fascinating. And the Octagon House in D.C., that one's tied to specific tragedies, right?
Yes, the Octagon House is infamous for the stories of Colonel John Taylor's daughters. Both apparently fell to their deaths from the winding staircase.
How did it happen?
There are a couple of versions. One daughter maybe committed suicide after her father forbade her suitor. Another might have just tripped during an argument. Either way, that staircase area is known as the most haunted spot.
And mediums pick up on this.
Holzer documented a medium feeling pushing, having head pain near the stairs, and sensing names like George and Jacques linked to the house's history. It really shows how intense trauma can deeply mark a location, leaving that powerful residue of suffering.
It seems so clear, listening to all this, that strong emotions, unfinished business, maybe even deeply held beliefs can really anchor someone or their energy here long after they're physically gone. It's a constant thread in Holzer's work.
Absolutely. His research consistently points away from random spookiness and towards manifestations tied directly to intense personal experiences and, very often, unresolved issues.
Like Mary Witzera at Mayerling, the Austrian Crown Prince Rudolph's lover.
Exactly. The official story was suicide pact. But Holzer felt the ghostly phenomena reported there suggested something different, maybe a panic death or murder, leaving unresolved questions. Not a calm suicide.
So her ghost reflects that confusion and panic.
That was his interpretation. Her lingering presence, seeming to repeatedly try to live her life over, coming up the stairs again and again, highlights that loop of emotional shock. The spirit trapped in the trauma of its final moments, unable to move on.
That deep emotional distress seems like such a powerful anchor.
It really does. Another case, the Metatungin ghost in the Kane house. The medium provided very detailed descriptions. Matilda, with a distinctive cut wedding band, figures from the Revolutionary War, even a boy named Alan lost to Indians.
Specific details again.
Yes. And it implies that this unresolved grief, these tragic events, are just deeply layered onto the location. In these cases, the psychic investigation wasn't just about identifying ghosts, but understanding their stories, helping Matilda or realizing Mrs. Allen's grief for her lost son. Holzer felt this understanding could bring peace, suggesting the troubled spirit of Mrs. Allen can now rest close to her sons. The goal was often resolution.
So whether we're talking about a conscious, real ghost stuck here or an intense emotional replay etched into a place, there's always a compelling, very human story underneath it all, usually tied to strong feelings or something left undone.
That's the core of it, really. We've journeyed through Holzer's quite nuanced definitions, looked at the scientific side, the practical uses of psychic abilities, encountered historical figures still making their presence felt, and explored the deep emotional imprints on these famously haunted places.
This deep dive, it really shows that this world of the unseen, it's far more intricate, far more tied to our own human experience or emotions or stories than we often imagine. It definitely challenges us to reconsider how we think about life, death, consciousness.
Yeah.
Moving beyond simple ghost stories to something much more complex, more energetic.
And it leaves you with a thought, doesn't it? If our most intense emotions, our unresolved stories, can leave such lasting imprints on the physical world, sometimes for centuries, what does that suggest about the true depth, the potential, the energy of the human spirit while we are still here in this life?
Right. What kind of ripples are we creating?
Exactly. What stories, what energy are you creating and leaving behind in an atmosphere of your own life?